Remember what the homework assignment was? Yeah, here's the answer. You ready for the answer? Uttarakhanda, Agastya Muni speaking to Lord Ramachandra. Kakashi gave birth to a hideous child possessing 10 heads, 20 arms, a huge mouth, and long teeth. He was born that way. And so his father called him Dasagriva. 10 necks, Dasagriva. Dasagriva went without food. This is his austerities. He went without food for 10,000 years. Must have been hungry. And at the end of each 1,000-year period, he gave one of his heads as an offering into the sacrificial fire. It was just when Dasagriva was about to offer his last head in sacrifice that Lord, oh gosh, my device just went on strike. It has to restart. Sorry, folks. Well, I know what it says. It says that as he was about to cut off his last of his 10 heads, Brahma came and said, "You don't have to cut off your head. Tell me what, with your remaining head, what is it that you want?" And I want immortality. He said, "Sorry, Charlie, no immortality today." He said, I'm not immortal. I can't give you immortality. He said, there's one thing I'm afraid of, and that's death. So I can't be killed this way, that 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 way. And specifically, he said, I don't have to worry about animals and men because I'm so powerful. There's no worries for me. I mean, according to the version of Valmiki Ramayana that I was just consulting. And so Brahma said, so be it. And not only that, I'm going to give you another benediction. You didn't even ask for it. And that is at will. You don't have to do anything, just at will. You can change shapes. Likewise, your heads, the heads you previously offered in sacrifice will be restored. He gets his 10 heads back. Or 9 of his 10 heads, because one was still fastened. So there's it, homework assignment. That's how he was born. Valmiki Ramayana. Uttarakhanda. So we heard about yesterday evening, we heard about all these curses he had because of his wanton behavior with ladies. And a detail is he although he had taken over his stepbrother's kingdom in Lanka, which was given to him by their father, because he defeated him in battle and took his Pushpaka Vimana and sent Kuvera somewhere else. He arranged for a massive army to go to Janastan, which is an area within the Dandak forest. Children, 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 you're going to sit in the front. You can't do stuff like that. If you want to do stuff like that, that's okay. Don't sit in the front. Do that stuff. If it happens again, I'll let you know. Find another seat. It's okay. So Shurpanakha happened to come across Ram, and although she had a husband, she became very attracted to Ram. So in her own demonous, facially unpleasant features, pot-bellied and so forth and so on, she came before Ram and said, woo, 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 let's get together. I have mystic powers. I can take you here, take you there. Let's go. You know, it's more fancy than that. But very direct, very, very, very bold. And right in front of Sita, and Sita's looking at Ram, and Ram says, don't you want to marry somebody that's already married? And see that young fellow over there, he's without his wife, and, you know, he's very handsome, and, you know, why don't you go for him? And so she turned to Lakshman and started going after Lakshman. And Lakshman said, oh, I'm unworthy. He's the worthy one. And then she put two and two together and said, the only one that's standing in between me and him is her. And so she started to charge Sita. Ram called out and said, stop her. And he certainly did. He stopped her by cutting off her nose and ears. And she screamed. He had a very sharp sword. And she went bellowing to her brother, not brother, to her cousin, Kara, because Kara was in charge of this massive army in Janastan. She screamed, do something. So he sent 14 powerful Rakshasa generals to get revenge, to disfiguring Shurpanakha. When they came, 14 powerful generals, they came charging. Ram saw them coming. He said, see that cave up there? Take Sita in the cave, protect her. I'll deal with these Rakshasa generals. And single-handedly, he slayed them all. Single-handedly, he slayed them all, 14 powerful generals. And after the powerful generals, then this message went back to Kara. Do you know what happened? This one fellow just killed 14 of our generals. So he sent Dushan, Trishiras, and finally Kara himself. And Ram killed them all. There's see up in the upper, behind the tree, there's this cave, and that's where Sita and Lakshman are. And there's the 14,000 soldiers. But before those 14,000, there was Dushan and Trishiras, and then finally Kara. So, Mahakapala, Pramati, and Stulaksha. So they came charging one after the next. These are, as you can see in Arabic, the soldiers, the Muslim rulers that ruled, they also liked Ramayana a lot. They illustrated in the way that they illustrated. The demons look really weird. Polka dot bodies. There's, at the bottom is Trishira's 3 heads. There's details and details. And Kara, the powerful general Kara. And then the 14,000 soldiers, all slain. One of the Rakshasa warriors somehow managed to escape. Doesn't say how, it just says he somehow escaped. And he went all the way back to Lanka to inform the leader. There you see the 10-headed, 20-armed Ravana, and Akampana is the weird-looking fellow on the right, informing Ravana everything that happened. He pleaded, please let me just speak the truth without you getting angry at me. Just tell me what happened. So what happened? He said what happened. And his 14,000 soldiers, 3 very powerful generals, and then 14 other powerful generals. Finished. So Ravana decided to go consult Maricha. So he went to Maricha, who was off in a secluded place. Maricha, what should I do? How to get to this fellow that just killed all my soldiers? And Maricha told his story. You know the Maricha story? Do you know who the first demon was that Ram killed when he was young? The first demon that Krishna killed when he was a little baby was Putana, right? Putana, first one. And so the first demon that Ram killed was also a lady. What was her name? Remember? Somebody back there. Who remembers? Tataka. Long story. We're not going to tell a long story because it's going to be a late night as it is. So Tataka had 2 sons, Maricha and Subahu, 2 sons. And Ram killed Tataka, Ram killed Subahu, and he hit Maricha with an arrow, and he went flying through the air and landed in the ocean. Big long distance. I forget the long distance number. So Maricha was shocked. And so Maricha was being approached because he had mystic powers and so forth and so on, very wise. Ravana went to take advice. And Maricha said, don't mess with Ram. When, so long ago, now he's more mature. He did this, he did that, he did the other thing. Don't mess with Ram. Don't mess with Ram. So he looks very thoughtful here. So he went back to Lanka, and sure enough, Shurpanakha did the Shurpanakha. She twisted her brother's arm. Do something. Look at this body. You know who did this? Ram. And you know what? You got a beautiful wife. And I know you like beautiful women. Right, Ravana? Go for it, Ravana. Get revenge. Don't take this lightly. Look what he did. You're going to just sit there. She insulted him left and right, younger sister. And down at the bottom, we see Ravana getting ready to go do his thing. Find Ram and do his thing. But before he went to find Ram, he wanted to go to have a second conversation with Maricha because he had a plan. So from his sister, what is the weapon of Ram by whom these many demons were killed in war? Likewise, Dushan and Trishira's Even the unkillable Kara was killed. Oh, lady, with fascinating limbs. Who disfigured you? Who is Ram? How brave is he? Of what conduct and what caliber he is? And for what reason did he enter the highly inscrutable Dandak forest? So he wanted to get, information. She said what she said. He went to see for a second time Maricha, and Maricha gave him the same answer: don't mess with Ram. And Ravana didn't take that answer. Either you do this or I'll kill you. And here's my plan. My plan is you have mystic powers. There's details and details in Ramayana, but Maricha was already known for being able to transform into different shapes. One of the things that he did, because he was a Rakshasa, he would take the shape of a deer, and the sages would be unsuspecting, and he would then eat them. That was his fun, eating sages in the shape of a deer. So he already had a reputation for that. And Ravana said, you do that. And supposing you just move in front of Sita and she'll be attracted, and then you can draw her into the forest, draw Ramachandra into the forest to capture the deer. The whole plan was made in detail. When he shoots you with an arrow, then you call out in a voice that sounds like Ramchandra's voice, call out for Sita and Lakshman. Ram will come to find you. No, excuse me. Lakshman will come to find you, and then I can kidnap Sita. And Maricha said, no way. Don't mess with Ram. And Ravana said, then I'm just going to kill you right now. He said, better to be killed by Ram than by you. So I'll go. So he agreed. You know the story. I'm doing it really fast because you know the story. So Maricha came. Sita became attracted to the deer just on schedule. And as she was attracted to the deer. There's some detail. I'll just go a little slower. In the Sanskrit of her words, she speaks words that are totally out of character for Sita. Specifically, she has a desire separate from Ram. That's not Sita. Say it again. In the Sanskrit, the acharyas point out, she speaks in such a way that indicate she has a desire separate from Ram. That is, she wants the deer. You can capture the deer. You know how much I like the forest, and back in Ayodhya, there's a wonderful garden. We can keep the deer in the garden. Won't it be nice? Oh, Ram, get the deer. Oh, deer, get the deer. And even if you can't get the deer, then you can kill the deer, and then we can sit on the deer skin, and it'll be nice. We can sit on the deer skin. That's not Sita either. It's totally out of character. Lakshman saying, who's seen a deer like that? That's a Rakshasa trick. Don't go for it. She just ignored him. We discussed this. Did we discuss it here? No, we discussed it in Dallas. She was offending Lakshman. Explicit. Offending Lakshman. Then she did it again after he wouldn't go. She started insulting, and she was not Sita. She was not Sita. No, you look at it with one lens. She was wanting Lakshman to help her beloved husband. Doesn't sound anything wrong with that. But Lakshman said, Ram said, just stay here. Besides, it's a trick. And, you heard his voice. Why are you standing here? You're lusty. I know, all this time in the forest together, you had your design on me, and no way. Anyway, insulting. And so he went. When he went, sure enough, the plan that Ravana had worked. there's their little cottage in the Dandak forest, and he said the things that he said. Oh, lovely lady, what are you doing here in the forest? And she's a cultured lady, so he's dressed like a sadhu, and so she wants to offer him some alms. And then he starts saying, lusty things. And she's taken aback by how he's speaking the lusty things. And when she doesn't comply with his wishes, he then does the Ravana. He grabbed her and started carrying her away. And as he was going quickly, but you know the story, and we don't have much time to go through more than quickly. So Jatayu came and challenged Ravana and said heavy things. Jatayu appeared. Because Sita had called, she knew that Jatayu was there. Look how big Jatayu is. He's got this donkey in his claws, carrying a donkey, and he ripped the chariot apart. There's a 10-headed Ravana with his bows. He knocked the chariot onto the ground, then it fell into little pieces. Finally, Ravana chopped off his wings and killed Jatayu. Well, he didn't immediately die because later Ram found him almost dead. And off he went the rest of the way. This is now back to Ravana, and he carried Sita back to Lanka. And we heard the reason that he gave to one of his soldiers why he didn't molest her, because of a curse that Brahma gave when he molested an apsara. If you do this again, you're finished. So he was hoping to break her will. And so he put her in a nice place, in a garden with Rakshasi ladies to guard her. And from time to time, he would come out to the garden, because like a period, something like 11 months, and he would tempt her, and then he would scold her, then he would threaten her, and she didn't yield, and she scolded him back. He said, you're suitable to be slayed because of the words you're speaking to me, but I'll let it go. You decide when you're ready to yield voluntarily and become my number one queen. Although we already had a number one queen. Here's another scene. This is where he comes with Mandodari, and he tries to entice Sita and do his thing. There you see in the tree, there's Hanuman. And the Rakshasis are told to torment her and taunt her and break her will and so many things. Hanuman hears all this. Hanuman just waiting for an opportunity. They fall asleep. He's an expert minister, so he knows what to do. He doesn't jump down from the tree because he might startle her, and who knows if she might think he's also just another Rakshasa trick. You know what he does? He sings glories of Ram very sweetly, in eloquent Sanskrit and beautiful voice, and sings and sings and sings, and Sita hears, becomes attracted, looks up and sees a monkey. Where's this singing coming from? And then he does this ministerial thing. He does very carefully explains who he is, why he's come, what his mission is. He's ready to assure her, Ram will now soon know where you are. Soon he'll come. He has a huge, 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 huge army. you'll be safe, etc. We heard all this. And after he gives her Ram's ring, she gives some ornament of hers to Ram, say, here's, you show this to Ram, so he knows that you found me and everything is going to be all right. I'll just hang on until he gets here. And then he decides to do what he decides to do, to destroy the garden, and he gets tied up with ropes by Indrajit's very mystical powers. He's brought in front of, now we're back to Ravana. Hanuman is looking at Ravana for the first time. What figure, what courage, what strength, what splendor, and what assortment of auspicious marks, alas, this king of demons has. Had the Lord of demons not been so strong in unrighteousness, he would have been a protector of even the world of celestials, together with Indra, Lord of the celestials. So he's admiring some of the aspects of this powerful demon. And then Hanuman speaks to Ravana and says what he says, give Sita back or you're finished. You have no idea, you're messing with Ram. Ram is all powerful. And he always says insulting things. So Ravana doesn't like it. He has the whole assembly way over to the side, and his brothers, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishan, and various generals. And because he was tied up in ropes using a certain Shakti weapon, because the Shakti weapon was neutralized by the ropes, then Hanuman was able to break the ropes. And there he gets his body bigger and bigger and bigger. They have already decided not to kill him, but to punish him as an emissary from the enemy. So they light his tail in rags soaked in oil, and he burns the city of Lanka. And he's enjoying doing it. Huh? Lanka burns. So now what? He leaves. He goes back and tells Ram, and meanwhile back in Lanka, Ravana calls for his ministers to what just happened here? We lost all these soldiers in Janistan. Now our whole city of Lanka is burned to a crisp, and so many other persons destroyed by this one fellow who says that Rama is so strong, you're all finished. What to do? I'm all powerful. I'm the most powerful person in the world, in the universe, etc., etc. So, they just praise him and praise him and praise him and praise him and praise him, with one exception. Well, initially it's with one exception. It's Vibhishan. Vibhishan says, don't mess with Ram. And you don't be sinful like this. Give Sita back. Save Lanka. Save yourself. Save all of our people. You're my dear brother. I'm speaking in your best interest. So later, Ravana hasn't decided what to do. He goes privately to meet Vibhishan. Second time around, Vibhishan says essentially the same thing. During their assembly, they all eulogize their strengths and Ravana's strengths, and no worries. It was just they caught us unaware. We weren't paying attention, but now we'll be paying attention. Ravana's maternal grandfather, remember him? Who was Ravana's mother? Kaikashi, right? Kaikashi? Kaikashi was the daughter of Samali, and Samali had a brother, Malyavan. So Malyavan was in in Lanka, And he also advised Ravana return Sita. He didn't pay attention. Kumbhakarna advised him to give back Sita. Didn't pay attention. Vibhishan advised him to give back Sita. The third time, as we see in the painting, he kicked him in the chest. Said, if you weren't my brother, I'd kill you. Get out of here. So that's Ravana. He's like, even the best of advice of his dearest associates, he can't hear it. This is the Ravana story. So Vibhishan defected, and he went to Ram. We heard a little bit, maybe no, it wasn't this group. Vibhishan's seeking shelter of Ramachandra. There's a whole major part of Ramayana, because as you recall, Ramayana is a treatise of surrender. Remember that from the beginning? Yeah. Ramayana is characterized as a treatise of surrender. And there are key verses. And one of those key verses is what he speaks when Vibhishan comes, and his dear devotee, Sugriva, says, don't trust him. Ram accepts him and gives this principal utterance, or Mahavakya, or Charama Sloka for the whole of Ramayana, that if one even once sincerely takes shelter of me, I'll give them protection and freedom from fear. Very important verse. So Vibhishan is now accepted in part of Ram's army. And Vibhishan defects with 4 ministers. So now that many things happened, and the invincible Ravana is now invincible because Ram builds a bridge. How are they going to get their army over here? Build a bridge, of course. It's only an 800-mile bridge. Only an 800-mile bridge. Very high technology, good engineering. You float rocks. By the way, that little research that was done that Hanuman picked up Govardhan Hill, I found the reference, and it is from Adi Varaha Purana, and the way it reads is, what's the current name of the state where Dehradun is? Uttarakhand. So then it was known by some Uttara something. Uttara. Okay, I can't hear what you're saying, but whatever, it used to have a different name. In Adi Varaha Purana, it had a different name. Today it's Uttarakhand. Then it was named something else, but in Adi Varaha Purana gives it. So that's where Hanuman picked up Govardhan, from that state. And as he was carrying it in the southerly direction, he heard a voice saying, bridge is already built, no need. So he set Govardhan down where Govardhan is today, according to Adi Varaha Purana. Okay. So they crossed the bridge. They crossed to Lanka on the bridge. And there's Ravana wondering what to do. He comes out of Lanka seeing this humongous army, and Sugriva sees him from a distance, and impetuously, Sugriva is a general, he just broke ranks and ran to find where he was and began a battle with him, shoulder to shoulder. They fought, big mess. Neither could defeat the other one. And it got to be really, really intense. And Sugriva decided, I just wanted to give him a scare. And so he came running back to where Ramachandra was. There's some details of their fight. Ravana then sent some spies to find out how vast was the army, etc., etc. The first two spies he sent were Sukha and Sarana. Vibhishan recognized them because he was previously part of that whole group, Rakshasa group, and he captured them. The Vanaras beat them up severely. They were brought before Ram. Ram said, let them go. If you don't yet have the information that Ravana asks, just say so, and Vibhishan can take you around and show you everything. We'll give you all the information you want, no problem. We'll treat you with respect. You're just an emissary from Ravana. And they were really moved by the kindness with which they were treated. And they went back and reported to Ram how kindly they were treated and how wonderful the warriors were. Ravana flipped. So he sent more spies. And one of those chief spies, Shardula, was sent. And same thing, he was recognized immediately by Vibhishan. The Vanaras beat him up badly. And then they were brought before Ramachandra. Ramachandra said, leave him alone. And he then returned to Ravana. Now, I don't know the geography or topography, but there's apparently a mountain that's near where they entered into Lanka, named Suvela Mountain, is mentioned several times. Suvela Mountain, that was their headquarters for the vast, vast army. The report was there are too many to count. The vast, 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 too many to count, too many to count. So Ravana's hearing this report, and he's deciding what to do. So one of the decisions he makes is to call his sorcerer named Vidyujvava to create a mystical head, a fake head by his sorcery that looks like Ram's head. And he carried this fake head that looked like Ram's head and informed Sita that her husband is dead, which wasn't true. And she becomes very disturbed. So he's trying to get Sita to his side, although there's this vast army. His attention is on Sita. And he tears the painting. He is showing this severed head, mystical severed head, to Sita. Sita's very distressed. But fortunately for Sita, Ravana is called away by Prahasta, some urgency. And so when Ravana goes away, the wife of Vibhishan, we heard about her, right? She was a Gandharva lady that was arranged as a wife for Vibhishan. She was like her husband. She was of good character. And she came to comfort Sita. She has an important role to play in Ramayana, again and again, several times. And she explained what the real situation was. Previously, she had been sent by Ravana, mistakenly, to befriend Sita and help Sita not kill herself, because he still wanted to be the enjoyer of Sita. So there was already a relationship in which she came and disclosed the reality. It was just a mystical apparition head. It wasn't Ram's head. Everything's going to be all right. Ram is so powerful, don't worry. Next, this is the Ravana part. Angada. Who's Angada? He's the son of Vali. The son of Vali was put in the care of Sugriva. When Vali died, said, please take care of my son like your own son. Don't treat him like me because he's my son. Treat him like your own son. So he did. Angada is very powerful, as was Vali, very powerful. We heard about how powerful Vali was. So he, Angada, sent a messenger to Ravana, making a request, humble request, please release Sita. 4 huge demons took hold of Angada by his arms, who allowed the Rakshasas to hold him. Taking all 4 of them, still clinging to his arms, he leaped onto a high ledge, dashed the demons together. They fell senseless to the ground. There's a little illustration of that scene. So Ravana didn't want to hear about releasing Sita, obviously. Next comes the son of Ravana named Indrajit. He had mystic powers, and one of those mystic powers was the weapons that he had were empowered by Lord Brahma, as shown in this painting. There's little tiny Brahma at the bottom. There's Vanaras, or at least Hanuman, and there's this nice fancy pinstripe suit. That's Indrajit firing his mystical arrows. And these particular set of mystical arrows, they were like serpents. He was able to make himself invisible. So he did this zooming around in the sky, firing from an invisible place in the sky, all these arrows that then captured all the soldiers, the Vanaras, and even in particular, Ram and Lakshman. Bound with the arrows of Indrajit. So those that weren't yet bound by those arrows were standing around, what to do, what to do, what to do. And over on the left, there we see Sita getting news that your husband has been laid low by the weapons of Indrajit. Here's the text, I'll just read. Indrajit came back, told his father and all the other soldiers the good news. He laid them low with all of his mystical arrows. And Ravana then wanted Trijata to take Sita in his Pushpaka Vimana and go see her husband lying on the battlefield like this. So that happened, but before that happened, there came Garuda. And when Garuda descended, the serpent scattered. So Ram and Lakshman were relieved by the kindness of Garuda. Immediately the serpent bonds, fell away. Garuda to the rescue. Now what's Ravana going to do next? He's got a very powerful brother, Kumbhakarna. But Kumbhakarna, as we heard, he has this benediction that he can sleep for 6 months at a time. And boy, did he sleep. The description is the place where he slept was 6 miles long because his body was so huge. And his snoring was so loud that the whole place where he was shook. Here's a little description of their waking up Kumbhakarna. They're beating his body. They're musical instruments. They have sticks. They have sharp. They have elephants trampling on his body. He didn't wake up. Kumbhakarna slept in an underground cavern that was 8 miles long to accommodate his huge form. Troops of demons entered the cavern, having to tolerate hurricanes of bad breath coming from the demon's open, snoring mouth. They brought buckets of blood to feed him and made loud noises, and galloping horses, camels, elephants, and donkeys around his chest. Didn't work. Eventually, after a lot of effort, he woke up And as soon as he woke up, they just fed him gallons of blood and this and that and the other. And he started eating animals whole. And, he's a wild guy. So now he's awake. Mission accomplished. He comes before Ravana, who he's a giant, and Ravana's tiny compared to his giant brother. And he tells him what he wants him to do. And he said, I already told you, just give Sita back and this is over, but now you're too stubborn and too lusty. So because you're my elder brother, I'll do what you're asking. So he went out into the battlefield. And when he went out into the battlefield, he's just eating vanaras like they're pretzels or something. And they're throwing boulders, and it doesn't do any good at all. He's so powerful. And there's a big fight. Sugriva does direct battle with Kumbhakarna. But Kumbhakarna's this massive guy and very fearful. And so what happens as the battle goes forward and forward and forward, eventually, I'm going to read some text, because here's the text that shows what the painting, what the text shows. With various special weapons, Ram cut off his arm, and then his other arm, then his 2 feet, and then his head. So finally, Kumbhakarna's finished. Here's the text. It's pretty exciting. Kumbhakarna picked up a terrible mace, hoping to slay his enemy without delay. In response, Ram evoked a powerful Vayu weapon, severing the giant's right arm, holding his giant club. Kumbhakarna screamed out in agony as his colossal arm fell to the ground, crushing an entire division of monkey soldiers. Next, mad with rage, Kumbhakarna then tore up a huge tree with his left arm and rushed towards Ram. Ram invoked an Indra weapon. And with that Indra weapon, he severed his other arm. And the huge arm, tumbling to the ground, numerous monkeys and Rakshasas were crushed. Didn't have 2 arms. Kumbhakarna continued to rush towards Ram, making a terrible roaring sound. Then, with 2 arrows, Ram cut off both of Rakshas's feet. Still, Kumbhakarna opened his horrible mouth and hobbled frantically toward Ram, still hoping to devour him. Very determined fellow. As Kumbhakarna steadily approached, Ram filled his gaping mouth with so many arrows that the huge Rakshasa began to gasp for breath. Finally, Kumbhakarna began to topple, losing consciousness from extreme pain. Ram then discharged another Indra weapon that streaked across the sky, illuminating all directions before tearing off Kumbhakarna's head. Bloody scene. As the gigantic trunk of Kumbhakarna's body crashed into the sea, crushing to death huge fish and alligators. The severed head, which shone like a full moon, fell down on the king's highway in Lanka, demolishing big palaces and huge sections of the defense walls and gates. Thus ends Kumbhakarna. There's a painting, there's his head severed, etc. Then Ravana makes this remark: since I banished Vibhishan, all these bad things have come to me. But he went ahead anyways. He sent more demons. And here's the list. It's long, bloody. This demon, that demon, the other demon, and this Vanara and that Vanara, the other Vanara, dealt with them. Lakshman specifically dealt with Aitikaya. Atikaya. Apparently, Atikaya is one of Ravana's sons, as was Krishna, Indrajit. After Lakshman finally killed Atikaya, there's a verse in Valmiki Ramayana, here's the verse, where he says he recognizes Ram as Narayana. Tam manye raghavam viram narayanam anamayam. But that he used to think I'm most powerful anyways. So he, Ravana, had received this javelin that was given to his son, Indrajit, by Mayadanava. He now has that javelin, and he threw the javelin or spear at Lakshman. So there we see Lakshman lying on the battlefield. There's Ravana on the left, Lakshman in the center bottom, and there's this javelin or spear in his chest. And the saying is, if the brave Hanuman is surviving, the whole army, even if killed, is unhurt. On the other hand, if Hanuman has given up his life, we are all dead, even though living. So the painting is a nice B.G. Sharma painting. That's Sushena, the Ayurvedic doctor, and he's examining Lakshman. Ram's holding him in his lap. There's Hanuman on the left and Jambavan on the right, and all the Vandaras in the background, waiting for the outcome of the doctor's inspection. That you know what happens. He wanted certain herbs. He told Hanuman how to get the herbs, where to go. Gandhamandana mountain, a big battle. When he got to Gandhamandana mountain, Hanuman dealt with the Gandharvas that were protecting the mountain, couldn't find the herbs, so he brought back the mountain. No problem. And many nice paintings of his bringing back the mountain. And when he brought back the mountain, Sushena administered the herbs, and very quickly, Lakshman was revived. And that scene is now concluded. The Shakti Shela weapon given by Mayadanava didn't work. So as you remember, Indrajit had mystic powers. So one of those mystic powers he decided to use to bring an illusory Sita before Ravana. There's Indrajit, there's the illusory Sita, and Indrajit's on the steps of the palace. And he slayed the illusory Sita right in Hanuman's presence, to discourage or dishearten or break the confidence of Hanuman. And to some degree it worked, because Hanuman couldn't bear to see Sita die like this. But Vibhishan explained, it's just Indrajit's magic. Don't worry about it. Sita's just fine. Sita's just fine. It's just the magic tricks of Indrajit. So here's another painting of the same. And in the center, that's a Vedic yagya that Indrajit was somehow, because Indrajit was the son of Ravana, and Ravana is the son of Vishravas, and Vishravas is a great Brahmana. So Indrajit knew mantras. He knew the procedures. He had powers that were given to him, but etc. So now Ram, because we're still focused on Ravana, Ram sent out an army headed by Lakshman and Vibhishan to fight against Indrajit's army. That's what's going on the right side. There's Ram and the Vanaras, and Indrajit preparing a yagya. If you remember, if you finish the yagya and say all the mantras, then this chariot's going to rise. Just stay in the chariot, and no one can defeat you. That was one of the things he wanted. So he's doing this yagya, and Vibhishan knew the secret. Don't let him finish the yagya. So he brought Lakshman to where Indrajit was performing the secret yagya. And Indrajit's attempt was spoiled because Vibhishan and Lakshman didn't let him finish the yagya. So they finished the yagya, and then this big battle between Indrajit and Lakshman. And here's Hanuman fighting Indrajit with tree trunks, big stones. And, Indrajit's got mystic powers, but, Hanuman's got powers too. In this painting, on the far left, where is it? It shows Indrajit didn't complete the yagya. That's the main point. And then this battle between Indrajit's army, Ram and Lakshman trying to defeat Indrajit's army. And on the left, there's Ram sitting very peacefully, getting news of how all this battle is going on. Kumbhakarna has been slain by Ram directly. Now, Indrajit's going to be slain by Lakshman. And that's what this painting is showing. There's in different stages. The battle scene right in the middle. Lakshman and Vibhishan against Indrajit. And in the course of that battle, Lakshman severs the head of Indrajit. That's good news. You see the head is flying off on the left, the orange head. And there's the body up top without his head, because Lakshman slayed his head. Now, Ravana wants to take revenge against Sita. Very, very good logic, right? And he's advised by his associates, no. Suparshva says, don't go after Sita, go after Ram. So then days of battle between Ram, in this case, Ram is riding on the shoulders of Hanuman. Down at the very bottom, there's one Rakshasa and one Vanara having it out. There's Ravana on the left. After being humiliated in battle by Ram, who was riding on the shoulders of Hanuman and piercing his chest with powerful arrows, Ravana again called for a minister conference. What to do about this situation? Indrajit's gone, Kumbhakarna's gone, many of my generals are gone. Go, Ravana, go, you're invincible, you're so powerful, who can check you? Let's go. He got all this encouragement from his followers. So here comes the battle scene. There's 10-headed, 20-armed Ravana, and on the other side, there, of course, is Ram and Lakshman and Hanuman and Sugriva, ready to do battle with Ravana and his army. And there's details and details and details and details. The paintings are fantastic, showing the battle scene. And at a certain point in time, Vibhishan, according to Valmiki Ramayana, the battle lasts for 7 days and nights. The Rakshasas become very powerful at night. Other sources say that the entire battle lasted for 60 to 70 days. But Valmiki Ramayana says it lasted for 7 days. So big scene. There's the Pushpaka Vimana up top. Ravana is zooming around in his Vimana. Ram, Lakshman, and everybody else is firing arrows at Ravana. Vibhishan gives the following advice. Valmiki Ramayana. There's different Ramayana versions. In Ravana's heart is a store of celestial nectar which renews the life in his body. The only way to kill him is to strike at his heart with a divine weapon that can dry up the nectar. Vibhishan's inside story. Tulsi Ramcharitmanas says a little different, that the celestial nectar was in his navel. Depends on which Ramayana you like. And Agastya had indicated when residing in Panchavati for the final year of his exile, Ram's exile, Agastya told Ram, here's a bow of Vishnu, and here's a special arrow that comes from Lord Indra, and a gold inlaid sword from Lord Brahma. Use them. Matali turned to Ram and spoke, "O Ram, the time for this one's death has come." I'm putting some text because it's blood curdling. It's like the language is great. Recall now the prayer Agastya told you. Agastya also gave you an arrow when you were in the forest. Imbue that arrow with the force of the Brahmastra and kill the demon by piercing his heart. Accepting Matali's advice, Ram remembered the celestial arrow which Agastya had given him long ago in the forest. At once, the arrow appeared in his hand, and he fitted it to his bow, the bow of Vishnu, right? Its shaft was made of ether, and its weight consisted of the Mandra and Meru mountains. The wind god presided over its shaft, the fire god over its plumes, and the sun god was installed at its point. It looked like the rod of universal destruction, wielded by the time spirit himself. Ram chanted the Aditya Hridaya prayer and then invoked the infallible Brahmastra. As Ram drew back the arrow, he, Ram, shone so brilliantly that no one could look at him. He released the weapon as it flew at Ravana, lighting up the earth and sky and roaring like a tumultuous ocean. It struck the demon on his chest, even as he stood firing his own weapon at Ram, piercing right through his heart. The arrow emerged from Ravana's body, soaked in blood, and entered the earth. Ravana whirled about and let out a cry which seemed to shake the entire creation. His bow dropped from his hands and fell from the chariot like a mountain struck down by Indra's thunderbolt. This is from Uttarakhanda, 2 verses. That arrow, which was inviolable as the thunderbolt hurled by the arms of Indra and irresistible as Yama, the Lord of Death, fell upon Ravana's chest. That arrow, released with great speed and which was capable of destroying the body, tore off the heart of that evil-minded Ravana. Ramcharitmanas tells it a little differently. After Lord Ram's arrow cut off Ravana's head and arms, they were renewed again with head and arms. This news was given to Mother Sita by Trijata, one of the favorable demonesses. Mother Sita felt much disappointed hearing that Lord Ram's arrows were unable to finish Ravana. Sita started lamenting, considering the situation. To console Sita, Trijata spoke as follows. The different version, this is the naval version. Listen, O princess, the enemy of gods, that's Ravana, will surely die if an arrow pierces his breast, but your Lord is careful not to strike him there, for he knows that Videha's daughter, yourself, abides in his heart. He was prevented by the thought that Janaka's daughter dwells in Ravana's heart, and that Janaka's heart is his own abode. In his belly, this is the naval message, are contained the numberless spheres. which will perish the moment his arrow pierces Ravana's heart. Now listen, fair lady, how your enemy will meet his death. Ravana will get disconcerted when his heads are cut off, with the result that you will escape his mind. That particular moment will the all-wise Sri Ram strike him in his heart. Vibhishan said to Ram, same book, to Ram, listen, all-wise ruler of the animals, of the animate and inanimate creation, protector of the supplicant, delight of the gods and sages, in the depth of his navel there is nectar by virtue of which my lord Ravana survives. Drawing the bowstring right up to his ear, the Lord of Raghus let fly 31 shafts, which flew forth like the serpents of death. One arrow sucked up the depths of the navel, while the rest struck his 10 heads and 20 arms with impetuosity. That's 31. While dying, he shouted with a loud roar, where is Ram, that I may challenge and slay him in battle? Ramcharitmanas. And here's a different Ramayana. The reference is at the bottom, and there's the Sanskrit at the top. In his heart always resides Sita, and within the heart of Sita is myself, Ram, and within me is the entire universe, along with the earth and its 7 islands. Thinking like this, Ram, who always cares for the welfare of the 3 worlds, did not shoot arrows at the chest of Ravana, but instead shot it at Ravana's navel. Different Ramayana, as we heard way back. There's so many Ramayana versions. And so Ram shoots Ravana. Ravana gets hit. Ravana falls to the ground. And there's many paintings showing the same. This is his getting shot in the chest. Here he's being shot in the chest. He's falling out of the Pushpaka Vimana. The whole city of Lanka looks like it's on fire. Here's another BBT painting. Ravana is getting shot in the chest. Here's a close-up of Ram firing the arrow. Here's a close-up of Ravana getting shot in the chest, and he falls to the ground. And when he falls to the ground, there's some of his heads lying on the ground next to his body. And Mandodari comes out of the palace. Now, we're almost done. Now, you may remember, I'll remind you, we heard from Govindaraja that this scene of sadness, or shoka, is one of the essential themes of Ramayana. So here's what Govindaraja writes about this. On seeing her husband Ravana, who was the twice born of Vishrava, whose crown was decorated with red crest jewels, who possessed the winged aircraft Pushpaka, who was intoxicated by the boons of Brahma and by the beauty of Sita Devi, who was surrounded by Indrajit, Vibhishan, Kumbhakarna, and others in his days of military success, and misspelled it, and who was now slain on the ground with limbs covered by blood. Mandodari intensely lamented with piteous utterances due to separation. And here's what she said, according to Valmiki Ramayana. You know, there were many wives, and many people came out of the palace wailing and, oh, Ravana's dead, Ravana's dead. Here's what Mandodari said. My dear husband, even though you were so powerful, you could not stand before Lord Ram. You were too proud because of your acquired prowess, and so you became a great burden for the earth You foolishly could not understand that it was Lord Vishnu who had descended upon the earth as Lord Ram to relieve her, that's earth, of that burden. O Ravana, your sinful passion for Sita Devi has turned out to be the cause for all the Rakshasas' destruction. You always masqueraded as a great hero, but you were proven to be a coward when you deceitfully kidnapped Sita Devi. Still, despite your abominable character, I do not see how I shall be able to go on living in your absence. Very conflicted. Finally, Mandodari fainted with her head upon Ravana's chest. And that's the end of Ravana. It's the end of the description of Ravana Part 2. Fitting end. Of course, there's the bigger picture of who was Ravana and Kumbhakarna and who was Jai Vijay and all of those things. There's the bigger plan of the Supreme Lord. Here's the demigods having seen Ravana slay the wicked Ravana. They requested Lord Vishnu to appear. He appeared and did the needful with a lot of intrigue. Now I'll just repeat something that I've been saying since I got here. My hope or intention, my wish is that all of you between now and it's only going to be on Tuesday, getting closer, but you spend some time daily reading Ramayana, reading with your friends, reading with your children, reading on your own, hearing the virtuous Ram and how he deals with obstacles of life far greater than anything we're going to ever experience, and how he deals with it virtuously and wisely and carefully. So it's certainly an inspiring literature, the transcendental literature, giving lessons in how to go through circumstances of life and in the end be victorious with the real mission and purpose of life. So that's it for this evening. Ravana Part 2. I went pretty fast, but look at the time. It's already late. 8 o'clock. Comments? Questions?
Gurma, there are two questions online.
Okay, I'm ready.
Bhima married Hidimbi.
What?
Bhima married Hidimbi.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because as per Kshatriya Dharma, a Kshatriya supposed to marry when helpless woman approaches. Does Surpanaka's attitude is the reason to disqualify her?
Ekapatni Vrata is the answer. Ram is only going to marry one, not two. That Bhima didn't have that vow, so his vow supersedes that principle. Next question.
Was Trijita Vibhishana's daughter?
What's the name?
Trijata.
Mataji, do you know the answer to that question? You're confirming. She's confirming. That's your mom. Okay. You're sure, right? Okay, she's nodding. Did you grow up as a little girl hearing Ramayana regularly? Yeah, sure. She doesn't speak English so well, huh?
That's of Lord Krishna's.
Okay.
And we grew up hearing about Lord Krishna and Ramayana, Mahabharata, all the stories from our grandparents. So my mom reads all the literatures, Shiv Mahapuran, Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana on a daily basis.
Okay.
So she kind of knows some things.
Okay. It's in her system.
Yes.
She's blessed. She has been blessed and she's blessing us by her presence. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So my question is, at the time of Mahabharata, there was a rule that after sunset, the battle cannot go on.
Yes. Yeah,
there has to be a break.
That's Vedic rule.
Yeah.
Ravana didn't follow Vedic rule.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Up front.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Question is, from now to Sri Ramanavami, you suggested to read Ramayana with family, friends.
With whomever, yes.
So out of 7 khandas, any conversations we should read, because covering the entire Ramayana take time. So any in particular khanda?
You asking me to recommend a section to read?
Yes.
That's what you're asking?
Yes, Maharaj.
Well,
From
there are
Valmiki
different
Ramayana.
ways, and there's different interests. An obvious one of those 74 verses towards the very beginning that Narada summarizes in Valmiki Ramayana, at least. Narada summarizes the whole of the Ramayana. That's one. And it depends on what your liking is. For example, if your liking is histories, then Vishwamitra Muni's discussion with Ram as they're traveling, going in, from Ayodhya to deal with Tataka and then to go to Janaka's kingdom, and all of the histories by Vishwamitra Muni are really fascinating.
Okay, Maharaj.
But then there's others that are a different kind of fascinating, and that's rasa. The rasa of sorrow when Ram is told by mantra, because Kaikeyi can't speak it, that to go to the forest for 14 years. And then when that news is broken to different people, how they take it and how they respond is really, I find it rasa-wise, very fascinating.
From Balakanda.
Yeah,
Okay, Maharaj.
Balakanda. All of that, Balakanda. So Balakanda is very special. It's, in terms of understanding the profound rasa that's within Ramayana. And because the attachment to Rama is, everyone has a different attachment. In one of the responses that to me is most profound is when Lakshman's wife, Urmila, hears that Lakshman is going, and she doesn't flinch. It's whatever she wants, whatever he wants. And there's other versions. She was painting and something.
Yes, ma'am.
So it depends on what your liking is. Kids like battles, boys, Yudhakanda, like that stuff. Heard from boys, they like the battle scene best.
Absolutely, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Ask your mother, what section from Ramayana does she like the most? That's more beautiful than any other part. Okay. She's a connoisseur.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question is, why in some part of India people worship Ravana? I know Ravana was worship Lord Shiva. So is that the reason people worship Ravana or something else?
There's an echo in this sound system, and I couldn't follow what she said. Could you follow what she said? Could you repeat to me what she said without the microphone? They worship Ravana. Oh, I don't know why somebody would want to worship Ravana anyway. No, other than the message of Bhagavad Gita, those who are demons, they worship demons. Those who worship the ghosts, they worship ghosts. Those who worship the demigods, they go to the planets of the demigods, and those who worship me come to me. So why would they worship a demon? He's a demon. He's not just a worshiper of Shiva, he's a demon. So why do they worship a demon? That's what they want to be. That's my answer from Bhagavad Gita. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.